today's a quick vlog, and it's going to be a rant, so it'll be my rant category. So if you don't like rants, just click to the next video. I got a really great Dollar Tree haul. I'm going to link somewhere probably around here. And you can go watch that video. It's much, much more fun. Okay, first off, I want to preface this with a little bit about myself. Fresh out of high school, I worked in the restaurant industry for about 5 or 6 years prior to joining the military. I worked in places from pizza to high-end seafood restaurants to even a boil house. I also worked very large parties, and at the boil house, I was actually hired as the bartender, and I bartended, waited tables, and hosted, because any days off I had, they had me there. So they really liked the job I did, so I must have been doing something right. And also, at the high-end seafood place, I worked a lot, and I worked a lot of big parties, and they must have liked what I did there as well, also. With that said, we went to Richard's, celebrating the christening of my great-nephew, and we were a very, very large party. And having waited on tables for very large parties, I understand the concept and why there's a concept for adding gratuity onto such a large tab. A lot of times the waitresses are having to pay out of their own pocket because people just don't tip enough for a large party, and that's wrong. They should never have to pay out of their own pocket just to wait on you. That's just ridiculous. I will say that they charged significantly higher percentage than what is the norm in this area, which I defended the restaurant at the church when everybody was kind of complaining about it, because my niece had a bad experience trying to book the reservation with them. They were really odd, put all these really harsh restrictions, more so than what's normal. And before you say you waited tables back in the early 90s, don't go there, because my son and my daughter both are in the industry now. So I know what's current and what's going on right now. And both of them work at some really nice places with some really great service. So we'll just leave it at that. The problem we had is when we get there, the service was worse than subpar. It was really bad. Now, I'm going to say this. The girl that waited on the second half of our party did an excellent job. I don't know who she was. That entire table was completely satisfied with what she did in her service. Kudos to her. I don't know who she is. So if this goes out there, honey, you did an excellent job. Keep your job. I also learned after the fact that the girl that had us happened to be related to the owner. I was told it was the granddaughter. I don't know. I got all this secondhand information. That may have been part of why she felt she could do the things she did. She was never rude. I will say that. She did some things that if I'd have done just one time in either of the places that I worked in that I'm comparing to, I would have been fired. But I understand after speaking to the lady at the cashier, which I'm assuming was one of the owners or at least part of that family as well. I have to assume that's just how she was taught she could be. So she doesn't really know how to be an actual waitress. Can she handle a lot of people? Sure. Not big, large parties, though. A lot of tables at once, probably enough for a ball house, yeah. With that said, the service was really bad. The food was really bad, which food's usually okay. For the price, it's not worth it. Never has been. There are places that are really close by to it that are much better service, much better food. And if you're willing to go to Lafayette, you can get a much better dining experience. Food, hands down. No, you can't even compare. But it was what it was, because this was the only place willing to take a reservation on the Saturday. So that's cool. When I went to the bathroom, I noticed she had a lot of tables. Now, we had 9 separate orders just at my table alone. Now, I'm not talking about 9 separate people. I'm talking about a party of 5. About 4 or 5 parties of 2. A couple singles. A couple 3 or 4s. So it was a lot of people at our table. She had a lot to wait on. So just our table alone would have been too much for any one person as it was. But we were not getting service. I mean, it was just really bad. Never came back to check on drinks. When she did, everybody was empty, and it was long past overdue for her to be there. Never checked on the quality of the food. It was just really, really bad. when I noticed all the extra tables she had, I was like, wait a minute. They got to do something. This is why the service is so bad. This is why it's horrible. She's just overwhelmed. So I go up to the front to say, hey, you know, we're with the christening, you know, and we got the 20% on the bill, which we understood, but we expected the waitress to be waiting on us since she was guaranteed that 20%. And I come out here and I see she has a lot of tables. She's really overwhelmed. Before I even got the word overwhelmed completely out of my mouth, the lady started yelling at me. So I was kind of like, I was a little bit shocked, you know, and I said, well, just take the tip off the check, because obviously y'all don't care if she waits on us. And if that's what it's for, we shouldn't be paying for what she's not doing. And I was calm. That's all I said. Because, I mean, she's yelling at me. And she just went completely crazy, ballistic, screaming at me. I just turned around and walked away. And she yelled at me, told me we didn't have to come back from across the... I was walking away. Like, I was, like, halfway down the restaurant. She was yelling this stuff at me. So she made a complete spectacle ass of herself. She's right. I'll never go back. In fact, more than half the people that went with us, it was their first time visiting. They'll never go back. And now I'm telling all my friends on social media how horrible my experience was. If you're ever in the Abbeville, Louisiana area, go to Shucks, go to Riverfront, drive to Lafayette, eat at Don's or any of the Boyle houses there, and you will have, that is my chicken, and you will have a much, much, much better dining experience. If someone wants to go to Richard's Patio, Abbeville, Louisiana, take my advice and pass. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening to my rant.